Welcome back. Today we want to talk about objection handling.
Yes, this is one of your favorite topics.
It is one of my favorite topics, and it comes up in many phases of a job search. It could happen in networking.
Right.
Someone doesn't have time to meet with you or doesn't think you're a good candidate
Yeah.
worth meeting. It can happen in an interview very commonly. It can definitely happen in negotiations.
Right.
So we want to talk about how to handle an objection when it's thrown your way.
Yeah, I think it's important that we start with what is an objection.
Yeah.
Because, when you're in the firing squad of an interview, it can really feel like everything feels like an objection. It could be something that's just in your brain that's telling you it feels like an objection. But let's really kind of qualify. What is an objection?
I would say objection is a challenging statement or a statement of disagreement.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity to educate the person on the other side of the phone call or the desk. It's really, you have to look at it that way. Yes. It is an opportunity.
Okay, so I actually want to spotlight that because that is far more empowering to think of it that way, because when you get that objection, it can fluster you.
It'll feel like an attack.
Yes. And so if you get flustered and you don't think of it as, this is an opportunity for me to teach this person who I am. Or
and let me say, from the interviewer's perspective, there are two reasons I'm going to give you a strong objection.
Okay.
One is, I just want to see how you come back. It's often, in my case, in many interviewers' cases, it's a sign of interest.
Okay.
I'm not going to waste my time challenging someone that I'm not interested in hiring.
Right.
I'm just going to kind of go through the motions and get it done. And then the other reason I might object is that I really sincerely don't agree with you.
Okay.
But in either case, whether I'm objecting to test your ability to respond or I'm objecting to get some more information, it's an opportunity for you, the candidate, to teach me.
Okay. So our audience is returners. They've had career breaks. They have pivots. Maybe they've been doing one career for an extended period of time and they're pivoting to something else. What are some of the common objections that they might want to be prepared for?
Okay. So let's start with someone who might have a gap on her resume, right? I might say something like, Kelly, I'm just really not comfortable bringing someone in after so long out of the workplace at this point. Now, I'm not asking a question. I'm just throwing it out there. So what some people will do is just either dodge it or just say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you don't want to do that. You want to answer it. Yeah. So what we teach is a template for how to handle that, how to respond. Another example might be more vague. It might be, you know what, Kelly, I'm just not seeing it.
Right.
Something just that kind of indescript and thrown out there, floating in the air, but it can really trip you up. And basically what I'm saying is you've got to do some more selling. Or it could be something very specific. We have a policy of not hiring people, unfortunately, Kelly, who don't have experience in X. All right. And
that's that referring to that higher authority, right? Where
it's not my call, it's somebody else's call. But in any case, you can handle it using the same template.
Okay, great. So let's just do a little role play here, because there's a certain step-by-step process that you teach in our courses that help people just navigate that objection when it comes at them. So let's talk about the elements and then we'll do a little role play. Okay, so the first one is to clarify.
Right. Now, the one I gave you, Kelly, I'm just not seeing it. Well, you have to clarify that because I don't know what you're not seeing.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So you would clarify saying, can you just elaborate? What aren't you seeing?
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
But if I say, Kelly, we wouldn't hire someone who doesn't have experience coding in SQL.
Okay.
Okay, so then you already know. You don't have to clarify. So step one is clarify. Sometimes you have to, sometimes you don't.
Yes. Okay. And then number 2 is to empathize, right?
Right. Empathize is to put yourself in their shoes and at least try to pretend that you can understand why. So, for example, with the objection to the long career break, you can say, I could totally see how how you'd feel that way. And I've heard this before, and I've certainly thought it as a reasonable objection. But let me tell you about what I've done during those 10 years and how that work relates quite well to what I'd be doing here for you. All right. So that's the empathize. And then I pivoted immediately into the second step, which is to refute and make your case. Right. So I set the stage for, now I'm going to talk about the gig work that I did, that I actually ran the books for my husband's company, even though I don't really talk about it on my resume because I wasn't paid for it, how I run, a lot of school events, and how all of these experiences have not only continued to develop, but they perfected my skills and taught me new ones during this 10 years that I haven't been in paid work.
Right.
All right.
And then the last is to test for understanding.
Right. So after you refute and make your case, then you look at the person and say, does, something like, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Is there anything more that you would need to hear from me, or is that pretty much settled that point?
Right. And so if they say yes, then you
did it well.
You did it well. And if they say no, you can start back at the beginning again and do that whole process.
And if they say no, you clarify, what is it about my explanation that didn't resonate with you?
Okay.
And then, gee, I understand that. I'm sorry I didn't explain it well enough. Let me try again. Then refute the case.
Yes.
Usually they want me to go through it
twice. Okay. Well, let's play with this a little bit here. All right. So I am the person who is you're trying to sell me on you.
Okay.
And let's go with it's kind of not making sense. You're a pivoter.
I'm a pivoter. Okay.
Yeah. You've been in a career in one direction. What was your career?
I was a lawyer.
Okay.
And I'm taking this just from a student who's top of mind. I was a lawyer, a litigator, but I developed an interest in data privacy, and I've done some volunteer work, some appointed board work in data privacy, and I want to pivot into a data privacy practice.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Great. All right, Susan. So I'm just looking at this, and I'm not connecting the dots here. I mean, you have this background in law, and yes, I can see where some of those skill sets can cross the line. Yeah. But it's all not making sense to me, and I think I'm going to have a really hard time selling this to the rest of the team. So I don't want to waste your time. And I want to be honest with you because I appreciate the time that you've taken today.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're being so candid with me because it's giving me an opportunity. Clearly it's hard to connect the dots on a piece of paper. We're limited in space. But let me explain. So yes, I was a litigator. So certainly have really good command of the room skills, excellent skills on discovery and due diligence and all that. I intended to go back into litigation after my career break, but during my time off, I became involved in some nonprofits and actually discovered that what I really was fascinated with was data privacy. And if you look at the timing of my career break, it was kind of when all of the social media sites and AI exploded. So data privacy is so much more of a pressing issue right now. We really don't have a good handle on it. So as a volunteer, and then later as an appointed board member to a national organization that works in the areas of data privacy, I was doing some legal contractual work. I was reviewing contracts. I was reviewing data. I was looking at algorithms, looking at data insights from major consulting companies, kind of looking at where are some of the holes here. And I found that my skills as a litigator really helped because not everybody working in data privacy is a lawyer. So yes, I think maybe some of the partners in the firm will be a little uncomfortable because I haven't worked as a lawyer in data privacy, but it's a pretty easy connection between having been a lawyer, doing that work in an unpaid nonprofit board position to now moving into a paid position. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually that does make sense. And I can see, I was thinking strictly from a professional experience, but having the understanding from your volunteer experience that does help me see the bridge that you have and that skill set that you've grown.
Do you think you'll be able to sell it to the other partners though? Because that's what I need most.
I think that I could. I think now that you've given me that understanding and educated me about your unique experience, I think that is something I could really sell. And better yet, I think it would be great if I moved you on to the next round and you could do that.
Great. So Kelly made it easy because I didn't have to even do the close. If you don't know what the close is, look at one of our recent posts. It's on doing the close. But so that you could see that interaction. I was doing it lightly. Right. Now, when that happens in the interview, you're not feeling particularly light. No. You're feeling the heaviness. You're feeling like you're attacked. But if you can just create that mindset,
just go down that list of what you were doing. You could hear, if you go back and watch this video again and really think about those different steps.
First, the clarify, the empathize, the refute and make my case, the test for understanding. I didn't have to repeat because when I tested for understanding, she had fully understood and she was ready to move me on to the next level. Yeah. And that happens often. That I think the other opportunity here isn't even just in educating the interviewer or making your case. It's showing resilience. It's showing that someone can throw you a curveball. Yes. And even if you don't execute perfectly or flawlessly, the fact that you're recovering, that you're coming back with a smile, that you're coming back at all.
Right.
It's something that people need to see. I just read a study, it was maybe Fortune or Forbes, that the number one skill that companies are looking for in the next 5 years is resilience. And one of the reasons that we don't really know what jobs are coming down the pike because of this big AI tool that we've got.
Right.
So resilience is important.
Yes.
Curiosity is important.
Yes.
And they need to see that in the interview.
So there you have it, how to handle an objection in an interview. If you liked what you heard today, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about us and our programs, you can visit us at www.preparetolaunchu.com.